Hello, it's Mary Lou Novak with Resource, the number 4care.com, where we speak and interview healthcare and wellness professionals and share it both on YouTube and on the Aging in Memphis podcast. So free education for those folks navigating aging or caregiving. Today we have Lynn Doyle. Welcome. And as you say, Lynn Doyle, not the flowers.
That's right. That's right.
I'll save you the time on that one.
Although some days,
And Lynn is with Crestwyn Behavioral Health, and she's a certified dementia specialist. Our topic for today is caregiving coping skills. We see it a lot where families love their loved ones, and their battery gets a little low, and it makes it tough for them to cope and feel good about what they're doing. So from your experience, Lynn, what are some of the top things that either people experience or need to know about this?
Well, I think first of all, it's the one thing we never plan for. Well, I guess we never plan to get old either. That's our stuff.
That's true.
But we also don't plan for the people around us to get older or for them to be debilitated in some way. Perhaps it's physical, perhaps it's emotional or mental. And so we don't know how to get into it right because we didn't expect it. It was not something that we even wanted to think about. And then, as you know, because you've had some of these experiences, dealing with parents who were your all in all your life, were the strong ones, were the ones that took care of things. And all of a sudden, now, for some reason, physically, emotionally, they're no longer able to do that.
Right.
And then that's when you step in. Now, a lot of times, and we may be talking to some caregivers today who actually are literally taking care of somebody distances away. So when we think about caregiving, we think, I'll be living in the home, or this person will come live in the home with me. But actually, it can be, my parents live 500 miles away or 1,000 miles away, and they're not coming here, and I can't go there. So how do I manage this? All of that is caregiver and caregiver stress.
Sure. And some of us, as I've said in the past, some of us have the caregiver gene. You know, where we intuitively know how to handle things and how to navigate, and then others have other talents. And
Good way.
And everybody needs the opportunity to give and to care in the way that they can. And can be a lot of friction, between family members when. What's that book? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus, I think. So everybody has a love language. It's the same thing, I think, with caregiving.
I think so too.
Some people take to it and are natural, and then others, they just find it very hard to do the tasks, to switch roles, like you were saying, with their parent.
That's a great way to put it, because truly it is, when it is with your parents or your older siblings, or it could be your younger siblings, there's a real role reversal, and that's difficult. And I think the other difficult part of it is just saying, is this a role that I can practically take? My heart's going to say something, my brain's going to say something else, and then the reality of my situation is going to determine what can I do here. And for example, if I'm caregiving to someone who lives 350 miles away, my sibling is there to give care. I may think, well, that's all good, but actually it's not all good, because that sibling needs some relief from that, and there are some things that you can do remotely. This is going to sound like such a silly thing, but I'm telling you, it is huge. I always tell families, do you know what DoorDash is? Do you know what that is? Yeah, I know what DoorDash is. Isn't this where they bring the food and put it on your porch and you have something on your phone? Yeah, you have an app on your phone and you go, and I said, here's the thing. If you can't think of anything to do, instead of just saying, what can I do, just going ahead and do it.
Right.
Send them DoorDash.
Yeah.
Send your brother who loves some ribs, Memphis ribs better than anything in the world. Go down to Corky's, they'll ship those things right
Yes.
to him. Got a little plug there. Didn't even cost you anything. You better be standing up.
Yeah,
sending
sponsor
some ribs.
me. Sponsor my podcast.
Absolutely.
Send some ribs.
But right,
Or
but
send us samples. Yeah.
yeah, I've sent the samples, but it's those little things because sometimes I think we think we're off the hook when we ask somebody, what can I do? And they say, oh, nothing. But the truth is most of us always say that.
Yeah.
We can't think of anything right that minute.
Right.
So we say nothing, or it makes us angry and we say nothing.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's truly finding your role in caregiving. Now, for most of the folks we're going to be talking to today, they may be giving the care directly.
Yes.
What do you do to keep your reservoir full?
Yeah.
Because it's going to get empty.
Right.
I don't care if your mother is lucid, kind, good. Most of the time this doesn't work like this, but let's assume it does. Mom's kind, good. She's moved in with us. We're all trying to be real happy about it. But the bottom line is it's one more person we're feeding.
Right.
We're feeding according to schedule. We're making sure doctor's appointments
Yes.
are attended to. It's a lot.
Yeah, and the freedom of coming and going, and
Yes.
you know, you get to a point, maybe if you did have children, that they're out of the nest, and now that life that you had planned for doesn't look the same as you had planned for.
No, and it is, here's the deal. It is much easier to find a dog sitter than it is to find a person sitter.
I agree.
We all know that.
We know that,
Even
yes.
though there's some great home health agencies.
Yes.
You and I are connected to several of those.
Right.
Home helpers and others. We know they do an incredible job.
Yes.
But sometimes it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work. Then what do you do?
Right.
Or what's your backup?
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yes.
It's difficult. And I think we also, because we're a product of generations, we look back and we think, well, my mother, I remember she cared for her mother right in our home. Yeah, did your mom work?
Right.
Maybe she didn't.
Exactly.
A little bit easy, even though
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's okay.
Right.
Because those folks do have a very incredible, individually crazy amount of stress. But Mom didn't have to get up and get dressed and
Right.
make sure that grandmother, she was there with
Yes.
her. We're not like that anymore. We're a generation of working people.
Yeah. And, you get up, you go to start your day, and then maybe they have, an accident or something.
Yes.
And then, you're starting back at square one and getting showered and dressed and ready to go out the door.
Yes.
So it can be really a challenge at times.
I talked to a family the other day, and the mother is she's way past the time that any of us want to live. She's 102 or something. And she's caring for Mom, and she loves her mom. And her
Right.
mom's always been an incredible, integral part of this family. A kind of matriarchal sort of system. Yeah. So it's all, that part's all good. The woman I'm speaking to is so angry that you can tell by the tremble, and this was not a tremble like I'm about to cry.
Right.
This was like a tremble of, I'm about to explode.
Right.
What should I do?
Yeah.
And so I said, here's the thing. The most important thing a caregiver can do, this is going to sound bizarre, but it is true, is say, what do I need? What do I need to be able to function in the environment that I am now in? With Mom here, with Dad here, with Aunt Linda here. What do I need? Because caregivers have a tendency to give such great care that they forget. And then what happens at the end of that? They get angry because nobody is looking at what I might need. Nobody is caring that I may have not gotten much sleep in the last 3 weeks, that I'm getting old as well, that I have doctor's appointments too. Nobody cares about that.
Well, and I think, as we become caregivers and when we take on, because we love our family and we take on the responsibility, we see, others that are peers, maybe we played pickleball with, or,
Sure.
would go out to lunch with, or whatever, enjoying their time. And so even though we're doing what we chose to do,
Sure.
You get a little prickly just from that alone, because what you envisioned things looking like
Exactly.
is not quite happening. Yeah.
And it feels like your plans are derailed, and it feels like your life is derailed.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were talking just earlier, because we've been friends for a while, I share these things about sometimes you get so sensory overloaded.
Yes.
It just kicks things out, and you have to
Right.
say, is this a memory issue?
Right.
Or is this a me continuing to
Right.
take things on issue?
Yes.
Because that makes everything else jump out of the middle
Yes.
file cabinet, and we don't remember as well. It's caregiving responsibility can be as, and when I say small, please don't jump through the camera on this one, because really it's not that small, but it can be as small as I need to take dinner every other week or something to my mother-in-law.
Right.
I know John and I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can be as big as, okay, I have been in this house every night for a month, and I've got to get
I've
out.
said no to every invitation or everything I wanted to do. Right.
And guess what? And my friends have stopped calling.
Yeah.
My church has stopped dropping in. My
Right.
friends have stopped calling, because I've pretty much said to them without really saying it, I'm okay here. And you know what? Chances are you're not okay
Right.
there.
Right.
So before you get to that point,
Yeah.
you're talking about planning for your role. Before you get to that point, you have to say, my reservoir is going to empty out here, so what do I need to do to refill it? And if it is just going to the manicure, sitting in a chair and getting a manicure and a pedicure, or if it is just going to the park
Right.
with a good book, staying in my car with the air conditioning
Yeah.
blazing, reading, eating some peanut butter, you can tell I've done this, eating some peanut butter cracker and saying,
Right.
it's okay, this is about
Right.
me.
Well, I think that things that we don't deal with and make decisions on, like to take the time or to do something for ourselves, it comes out anyway. I mean, we're talking about making a choice, but because part of what we were talking about is, I was doing something this weekend, I had a million things, and I was just sitting, and I couldn't think of one thing I needed to do until I got back to my office, and I'm like, if I only would have done like one of those things, but when you do empty your reservoir and you get to that point, then it's gonna shut down automatically. Your brain's not gonna
100%.
function. I couldn't even think of one thing I needed to do. And I got back to my office and I was like, oh, there's a million things I could have done sitting there, but it's going to happen anyway, so you might as well
Right.
pick what you want.
One of the things I think that happens with caregivers as well is that taking care of me alarm is just cut off. It's like you lost the battery in your smoke detector. You know what I'm saying? You never want that battery to go out,
No.
because when there's smoke, you want to know it. Well, it's the same thing internally. When there's something going on with you because you're not getting what you need, then the more that you back away from that, the more that you say, I don't have time to deal with it, don't have time to write that down, then what happens is your smoke alarm battery is gone.
Yeah.
And what you are to you is slowly beginning to fade away.
Yeah. So what are some things that, maybe behaviors that people start exhibiting, or, just tips that we can give people to, I'd love for them to recognizing it, early on rather than waiting until they do shut down, because I know when I was younger, I just didn't understand the concept of, now I say no is a complete sentence.
100%.
But when I was younger, I didn't know that sentence. And I would get to the point where I was vulnerable to be getting sick, and every time we had a big project, I ended up, down for the count for a while afterwards. But I've gotten older and a little bit wiser.
A lot wiser.
And what can we share with our folks as indicators or things early on, or maybe it's pre-planning. I don't know. What do you think we can share?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to do 100% is we have to get that alarm back. Mm-hmm. So every day you sort of do a little reevaluation of, am I doing okay? Did I one more day just hang around in sweatpants and it wasn't for fun?
Right.
Yeah. And to say to myself, what is it that I need? Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what I think is just angelic. It's like the greatest thing ever.
All right, I'm ready. I'm going to write it down.
It's when you find someone who is experiencing somewhat of the same situation, right, and you call them and say, I need you. Now, when you do that, you do two things. You open yourself back up, so that alarm's beginning to go off again. The other thing is you give that person an opportunity to give you some of their stuff, because the burden is always light when two people are caring. They may never come to your home. You may never go to their home, but here's the thing. In your head, you're going to say, yeah, Mary Lou talked about that. Mm-hmm. I wonder what she did about this. Mm-hmm. I think I'll give her a shout.
Right.
And both ways it goes, and I'm going to tell you that is so good. When people realize you don't really want anything physically from them, what you really want is just them to say, yikes,
right,
I've been there.
Just a listening ear.
Yes, and here's what worked for me. Mm-hmm. And we need that at all levels in our life, but especially as caregivers. Mm-hmm. That's why when there's a caregivers conference, there's so many of those in Memphis that are free.
Yes.
When there's a caregivers conference, you want to slide right into that. You want to go, because that is your time off, and you say to yourself, this is going to make me a better caregiver.
Yeah, this is a requirement. It's not an option.
It's going to make me better to me, and it's going to make me better to them, because we all know, it's so funny. Last night, I was keeping, our grandchildren, because there was a little accident, and so we needed to get in there and help things. And so it was the crate. If I told you this story, you would think I was crazier than you might already think, so I'm not going to tell it. But let me just say, I'm driving around, I've got a seatbelt unbuckled, I don't know how to buckle it. It is like, were you okay?
I'm going to pause real quick. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh.
Things have changed again. Well, it's a new computer. I gotta fix it up. Okay.
We'll just cut that part out.
Let's pick up with your story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll tell a little bit of the story. So I'm needing to go pick up my 2-year-old grandson from daycare. John is at the museum with a very important client, and so I'm trying to figure this out. So I thought, I know what I can do. I'll get the car seat in the back, and I'll drive to the daycare, and I'll get Miles, and then I won't be able to drive with him because I got this thing that's not connected to the seat belt, because they're all so different and new. Car seats are different. And so I said, but I'll figure it out. So I just took deep breaths and said, you don't have a choice, you figure it out. Meanwhile, I texted John and said, don't go home. Come straight to daycare, because I don't know if I can get the seatbelt in. I went in, and because I just took deep breaths and said, I know that I can handle this. I don't know how, but I know that I can. I go into daycare and said, hi, nice ladies in daycare. I'm really who I say I am. Here's my driver's license, because they had me down there, but they got to scan it, which is good.
Yes.
And they said, we'll help you put that car seat in. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? They're like, no. You grab Miles, and we'll go out to the car.
Nice.
And so just that one act of kindness from somebody who didn't really know what she was going to do. I knew it would get handled, but I had no idea how. And it might have been 2 hours from then. Some kind person, Jasmine, in case you're watching, came and helped me. Now, here's the deal. If you transfer that over to caregiving, even though I was with a 2-year-old, sometimes your challenges with older people can even be greater. With a 2-year-old, you can make promises. I'll give you a snack.
Yes.
We'll go to Target after this is over.
Right.
You know, so it's very difficult to do that with somebody older or somebody who's lost some of their mental capabilities. If you believe that it's going to be all right, and you believe that you're equipped, and you believe there are people out there that can help you,
Right.
your caregiving will go so much smoother.
Right.
Some of you right now, I know you are, some of you right now are saying, I just can't do that. I just can't
I don't
reach out
feel
to
it, so I
anybody.
can't project it.
I don't feel it.
Right.
Exactly. Or we just don't do that at my family. Hear this all the time. You do too. We're going to keep this a secret. No.
Right.
Don't do that anymore. You say, I'm going to get through it because someone is going to help me.
Yeah. I agree.
So.
I just had, we have a Facebook closed group. So somehow I'll share that when I post it.
Okay.
Because I think, to your point of having someone to talk to, I had joined this national Facebook group, and oh my gosh, there's like 100 posts a day, but it's across the country. And so we started one here locally, 901 Caregiver Support Group, I believe, if I'm saying it right. Just for people to, and you can post anonymously, but it's private and it's closed, so you don't have to worry about that. And then there's a few of us that accepted the invitation from our WISH group, Women in Senior Healthcare, to help answer. So if it's a caregiver question or a care question, or if you just want support, we all can, anybody that goes on there can help each other. But I'd love to get a list together of the different support groups there are in the area.
Yes.
I've been asked that question, and I anecdotally hear them, but I don't really have a list. Do you know of a few? I
do know that there's a caregivers conference in September, and I'll send you that date.
Okay, good.
Actually, Paige Robbins is doing that. I'm actually one of the speakers there, and and we do it. This will be. I think this is maybe the third time we've done it, but it's one of those things. And then there are other people who do caregivers.
Yeah, I think someone from Comfort Keepers spoke.
Yes.
Yeah, was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
Yes. I think you're right.
Yes.
And those resources locally, especially if they're affordable or cost nothing, most of them cost nothing. And when you go there, you're automatically in an audience with people who gotcha.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're like-minded.
Yeah,
they're going through the same journey often.
Yes.
Now, is the one at Paige Robbins just for those who have memory loss, or because I know that's a memory loss?
It's open.
It's open to anyone, any caregiver. Okay, good. I'll add that to the list. I know that we have a colleague of ours that does some meetings at libraries, memory cafes.
Yes. And those are wonderful.
Okay.
Memory cafes are wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, if you haven't, we should go.
Yeah, I will.
It's really very interesting what she does. I'll just plug that for a minute. She actually has the caregiver and the person that they're giving care to come. So they're both there, and she talks to both of them, and then they all talk to each other.
Okay.
And there's there's always some kind of activity that she brings in that the person who's giving care, not giving care, but receiving care, is able to sort of do something very concrete.
Right.
The caregiver will help them as well.
But simple enough that they can enjoy it.
And outside of the house.
Yes.
To have a little sip of something. She always has some sodas or waters and some chips. And you just sort of sit there and be with it. And really that is a good thing to post because Kristen does a great job with that.
And I know the Parkinson's support group is very welcoming. Even for those that don't have Parkinson's, because there is dementia that Parkinson's brought on by
Lewy
dementia
bodies
brought on by Parkinson's. But it would be good to take a few minutes maybe afterward, and I'll put a list together of and maybe put it out in my newsletter.
That'd be great.
Yeah, support groups.
I think that'd be great. If you can ever be in a situation where you don't feel alone, one of the things I'll always say to caregivers is, these are the things you will forget. You will forget to eat. You'll be so busy feeding somebody else, and before you know it, it's the end of the day, and you've had a half a package of peanut butter and cracker.
Right.
Your blood sugar's just crap.
Yeah.
You're hungry or hangry at that point. Now you got to fix somebody dinner, and you're so tired you just want to go to bed.
Right.
And part of that is because sometimes caregivers have a difficult time sleeping. It's sort of like when you were a young parent and you had brought that baby home, and my goodness, you didn't have to worry if you were going to hear him cry. I don't care if you were just exhausted.
Right.
You were going to hear that baby cry. You were attuned to it. Well, it's really the same with caregivers, but because it's not a baby, they don't see it that way, and they're so afraid. I told a caregiver the other day, I said, "You still got a baby monitor?" And she went, "No." And I said, "Well, you can buy a cheap one." And she said, "Why do I want a baby monitor?" I said, "So you can sleep." I said, "Put that baby monitor in mom's room, and you'll hear if there's something happening."
Yes.
So then that gives you permission to just go on to sleep.
Right.
Because if you don't give yourself permission to sleep, 100% of the time you're not going to
fall asleep.
Yeah. Things are going to be scrolling through your head.
Right.
What did I do? What did I not do?
Right.
And I'll tell you what I've started doing, which doesn't really have anything to do with caregiving, but yeah, it's a good tip, is carry a pad around. Carry a pen around. Write down things as you think about them. Stick it in your pocket.
Yes.
You know?
I can't tell you how often, there would be things happening within the home, and then you go to the doctor and go to relay what's been happening. And you think, because it was so impactful, you're going to remember. But how long does it take to get in to see a doctor anyway? So 2 weeks later, when you finally get to see the doctor, to remember, what the issues were, write it down. I always tell people to write it down.
100% of the time. And I think you also, again, it's going to seem like a little thing, but it is huge. Tell yourself what a good person you are, that you're doing these tasks. Because let me be clear, you don't have to. You may say, "Well, of course I have to. She's my mom. There's nobody else around." No, that's emotionally you're telling yourself you have to. You don't have to be a good daughter. You can let that go.
Right.
But if you are going to be, then step up. If you're going to be, step up and say to yourself, what is it that I need for me? And I am a good person, by the way.
One practice, and we've talked about this before, that I do, especially if I'm feeling overwhelmed, is I have time I've set aside in the morning for myself where I think of 5 things that I'm grateful for. I think of 5 things to acknowledge myself for, and then I put together what my intention is for the day. It's impossible to be angry and in a bad mood at the same time you're writing gratitudes. And it's impossible to beat yourself up after you wrote 5 acknowledgments. And it's only even the littlest things, where you made a choice to react a different way. That's a big deal to acknowledge yourself for. So I know that's my little tip. That's what I do.
No, I love that.
I want to give a shout out to Janelle Holloway of Eagle Hollow Enterprises. She insures our golden benefits. She is an insurance agency that helps people navigate gap care, Medicare, Medicaid, health care, and she is a paying sponsor for my podcasts. So I wanted to give a shout out to Janelle. If you need insurance help, she's your gal, and I'll share that on the screen when we post this podcast. So reach out to Janelle Holloway. She'll be happy to help you. We know her pretty well.
We do.
Yeah, she's a sweet lady and always willing to help. And I wanted to thank you, Lynn, today for coming.
My pleasure. I'd do anything for you.
Oh, same here.
And I hope that the folks who listen will, not only who are seeing the podcast, but to get the newsletter, to be able to look at Resource for Care, because it's awesome. Everything you do is.
Thank you. Appreciate it.